Woo, wow, woo. I caught myself off guard there. Welcome to Space Cats Happy Hour podcast. I'm Canadian KK, aka Zaddy Cat. Sorry, some portal. Um, and I am here with my lovely co-host.
DreadPirateKK in the house.
Yay!
How's it going?
um, it's April 6th.
Yeah.
Spring has kind of sprung. My cat, Judy Jupiter, is being an absolute spring maniac. When I tell you, like, literally every surface of the apartment, she is bouncing off of. I just found out that apparently from another person I know who had a tortoiseshell cat that apparently they're known for being little maniacs.
Oh,
Um,
I didn't know
and
that.
I was
Okay.
like, there's so much with Judy, like of what I put in as a request before I
Yeah.
got the cat.
Yeah.
And then they were like, that's what you think you want, but what you actually want. And so we had to have a very gradual entry into her full level of chaos,
Mm.
where she was kind of under the weather for the first month we had her. And then she just got more and more. And so because I know if it had started at full tilt, I think
A little too much.
I would have been too scared. But
Yeah.
she's perfect. I mean, she's
Good.
amazing. She's perfect.
I love how you had that one post. Was it on Facebook or something? And the AI questions that popped underneath was like, "Why is this cat so popular?" or something like that. Or so I was like, "That's so cute that she's popular."
That was yeah, because I made like a reel or something with her that ended up like for some reason like getting a lot of traction on Facebook.
Well, she's
and
amazing,
yeah,
obviously.
but that was very funny. I was like, why is this so popular? Like, how dare you ask that? How
Excuse
rude.
me. It's obvious.
Yeah, but it's spring, um, and we're going to be talking today about finding peace in a post-truth world. And what do we mean when we say a post-truth world? But maybe, probably you already have a pretty good sense if you've been following any current events at all. um,
Some stuff going on out there.
yeah. um, yeah. And I have good news to report on. I always like to report on good news, but you've also just moved in to your new home.
Yeah, big changes afoot in this in-betweenness that we are in. And yeah, I think our last episode, did I record at no, I think I only recorded at the Midnight Diner. And I think the last one was saying goodbye to Midnight Diner, or then we did something about the fair. Oh no, I did record in the pirate ship. Okay, we recorded in the pirate ship about the year of the snake. So anyway, yes, now and then I was in the pirate ship, which is where I thought I was going to be for a while until we built this new kit house, whatever. I recorded all about that. I think I might have talked about it on the podcast here, but anyway, there was a whole plan that I thought was in place, and then that plan got completely switched to a very different plan. And I am in a new house and in a brand new life, and it is like it's funny because the first morning I stayed in this new house, like I woke up and my neck it had felt like
Oh
whiplash,
yeah.
and it was energetically just very whiplash. It was like very bad situation, very good situation. And so it was like, wee, here I am. And I haven't really I moved in the first week of March, like March 7th or whatever, and it's been very much I can feel that I've been planted. And so the month that has transpired since then, since whatever, I feel like I'm kind of getting used to the soil or whatever, like in a very literal way, because I'm also doing a lot of gardening and farm work and all that kind of stuff. And it's a very different life than I had before, where I wasn't really doing much of anything, or I moved from the corporate world to nothing, and then, weird little jobs at the library and the movie theater, and then again nothing when I got fired. So it's like I've kind of been all over the place the last few years, and so the stability of this life is like very new because I am no longer.
Yeah.
I remember our first episode. We like, "Are you there, KK? It's me, KK." Go back and listen to that episode, guys, because it is so good. But anyway, we were talking about like our life and like I had gone through all the places I'd lived, and I really had only ever stayed in a place for like 2 years, maybe three. And then now I can feel myself forming roots, which I've always wanted to do because like I've enjoyed the nomad life because I really loved living in different places, and obviously my energy was needed in all these different places and whatever. But there were times when I was just like, why can't I just stay in one place? Like why do I keep moving? Like I just want to be in one place. And then I would keep moving
Yeah.
or whatever. And so now I am in one place, and it's very cool. It's very weird, but not in a bad way. It's just like very different. And so yeah, it is very Lemurian living, but then I still have my Atlantis side where it's like I'm talking about the cosmos and like doing galactic space cat shit or whatever. And so it's like a slowly getting used to having those lives be together now. And so I kind of dived headfirst into the Lemurian stuff, and I'm getting used to all that. And it is very awesome. Like it's very rewarding. I feel it feels purposeful, and like, you know, not that I didn't feel purposeful before, but I sort of didn't because like I just kept roaming around to these different jobs that felt like they meant nothing, like all that stuff. So it's like I just have a very different view on like what I've done in the past, and know that that was my purpose and I was supposed to be doing that, but it never at the time felt like I didn't belong anywhere. And so now I'm like, I still feel sort of not temporary here because I know it's not forever, forever, but it is like a very long term thing. And so it's just a very interesting thing for this little nomad space cat to be hanging out in this permanent roots situation. But it's good.
Yeah. Are you ever a nomad? I remember that was one of the most surprising, not surprising, but just like wow,
All the
things to
things.
discover in that first episode was how many places you'd lived and stuff. It was really
Yeah.
cool. I also am not going to dive into any of the details of your life or whatever, but I will say your shift from the pirate ship to your new home is such an example of like timelines collapsing so rapidly in like ways that don't feel like like grounded in the old reality at all, because there were things that happened so fast that could normally take like months or even years to
Yeah.
happen, and they happened in the space of like a month, and
I
it
know.
was just like
It really did.
wow.
Really did.
um
Yeah. It was pretty wild.
yeah, so that's always interesting, like because I know from back when I was hearing other people talk about their experiences, like with shifting realities really fast or having like things come into their life out of nowhere, big things like a home or, abundance of some sort, prosperity, like it it always felt like, well, it didn't always feel, but sometimes there was part of it that felt like, oh, that's for other people, like
Yeah.
they're having that type of experience, but I'm not having that type of experience. And I have I have had plenty of crazy experiences and like mind bending experiences, but certain things like that with like fast shifts and stuff,
Mhm.
I have been experiencing more of and in bigger ways. And it's truly interesting and strange to be on the other side of that. And it is me now, not the other, which is
Right.
obviously also the illusion of the self and the other, but
Yeah.
which I think is a very big part of it that kind of breaks down. But just to say, if anybody hearing us talk about these things is having those feelings, I mean, first of all, I would also say you're probably overlooking things that are happening that are really crazy and like quite reality bending, but also like it's true for ev- everyone. If you need to hear it from someone for whom it wasn't, who is in a spiritual place for a long time, but those types of things weren't like showing in my external reality, like it's true for everyone.
Yeah.
It's not just some people out there who are doing spirituality the right way, and I was doing it the wrong, all that
Yeah.
stuff.
I've
But
had all those stories too. All of them.
um, yeah, like truly, it was very weird to be living in a reality where for a long time where everything was completely psychedelic 24/7 for me, but certain areas were still very slow moving or not the right time, or like felt very fixed,
Mm-hmm.
where everything else didn't. It was such a weird place to be straddling.
Mm-hmm.
um yeah, and interesting, and
Yeah.
you know
All of this is interesting.
yeah,
Even
all
though
of it
sometimes
is.
it's discombobulating.
Yeah, it's all so interesting. Anyway,
Yeah.
so what I'm going to do for the good news roundup, because I like to collect the stories, but this time I didn't have time to really collect. So maybe I'll get into bring more stories next time, but I'm just
Mm-hmm.
going to talk about themes a little bit and maybe give a few examples. But also, this thing of all the good news is going to tie into our post-truth world um, topic. But um, I so the major things that I keep seeing over and over again tend to be on the topics of health, um, the environment, and um,
Animal cruelty.
animal cruelty.
Oh yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so there's just been more
Yeah.
of that stuff. There's and like some of it is coming out of something that's very horrific, which is the um, the war that's going on right now. But countries have been switching really fast to, and like are now in super accelerated mode searching for green energy things. So I just keep seeing things also about countries that were already like, suddenly are on the timeline where this country has already been doing this forever, and suddenly they're like, there's a country, I can't remember one, I think it was a Scandinavian country, but it was like powered like 100% by
Oh shit. I hadn't
green
heard that yet.
energy for the whole
Amazing.
year. So yeah, I'll try to get that one and put it the link in the and then yeah, and the fact of like the Strait of Hormuz being shifting over,
Mm-hmm.
um, I think is going to have such an effect on oil and a transition to green energy. Like I think it's
Absolutely.
just going to do so many things.
Mm-hmm.
And then just I just see story after story about new treatments for cancer that are like they're like reversing the cells. They're
Mm-hmm.
reverting them back to their non-cancerous state, or they're destroying them in these new ways that don't destroy the surrounding tissues, or there's vaccines that are like preventing, or they're just finding this other way to target. It's like at least 10 different things that I've seen that are specifically about incredibly successful treatments for different types of cancers and ways to treat cancer in general and stuff. I
Yeah.
mean, these just huge things for health and longevity. I saw something about studies being done about postponing menopause for women and being able to extend their lifespans as a
Oh, I did see that
result.
too. I think I might have seen it on your page actually. Yeah.
And um and just now really interesting things about like hormone replacement therapy for menopause. People are now like, oh, they were feeding us all this fear information, and actually, it's like now we're in the reality. They're like, no, it's like it's not true,
Yeah.
and it's safe. That was certainly working on. I was terrified of all um, those aspects, and also GLP-1s, which is like Ozempic, which I know is very controversial, but in my reality, all I'm seeing are studies that are showing that um, it's having it's doing all this reduction of inflammation.
Oh,
It's
nice.
doing, because the thing is, it's peptide too. And I don't know, peptides are like, I don't have the science on this, but peptides came on the scene and everyone loves peptides now. And
Yeah.
peptides seem to be doing like all these amazing, incredible things.
Hmm.
So peptides seem to be like this new advancement hop that we've leaped, where that we've jumped, that it's like, it's going to resolve a lot of stuff. But
Hmm.
yeah, the GLP-1s, reducing inflammation, like treating and like reversing chronic kidney disease, but also studies. I was just reading about these studies done on like long term over the past 15 to 20 years on GLP-1s across the world, where it was like they followed up with all these people, and it was like all these drops in who'd been taking the GLP-1s. It was all these drops in depression and
Oh,
anxiety and
nice.
also addiction, because it like
Oh,
curbs naturally, like it curbs addiction so that it makes it much easier to get off of substance. Anyway,
okay.
I'm just hearing like
Yeah.
really amazing stuff. And then yeah, one example. I don't like to get into the examples of the cruelty against animals because then you just
Yeah.
end up talking about horrific things. But one
Yeah.
thing in Canada now, they've put an end to places like SeaWorld with like captive, anything, that kind of
I saw
stuff.
that. Yeah.
Yeah. And, you know, this is like, it's just like all of a sudden we were on the version of reality where the light switched on for like people where at the governmental level, they're like, we must,
Got to do something.
we've got to do something. We have to care about animals and
Yeah.
like really like
Duh.
have compassion. Yeah, duh, but like
I
it's like we're
know.
there and it's amazing.
Yeah.
So those are all, and again, I'll try to include as many links to articles as possible in the
Yeah.
show notes. But it's, and even just, so that's kind of the reality that I've been living in with news.
Mhm.
And then I see that other people are living in a reality where they're like, I can't take another bad news story, you know?
Yeah.
And a lot of that has to do with the actual crumbling. Like the crumbling has begun, it's full force
Full fucking force.
of the American empire.
Hmm.
And that's a good thing. And it
Hmm.
can feel like a terrifying bad thing, but trust me, it's a good thing for Americans as well.
Yeah.
And even if it's a bumpy, scary road,
Hmm.
it's that gluey stagnancy that we were feeling for, so like it's happening rapid force right now. And the
Yeah.
more some people, you know, like there's a lot of witches and stuff who are coming together to try to like get Donald Trump out of power or whatever. And I'm like, I just feel like none of that has worked because he had to
He's supposed to be
play
here.
his full role
Yeah.
to like really
Collapse.
destroy, and like
Mhm.
not just destroy the American empire, but destroy people's faith in
World
put it, or like,
institutions.
yeah, world institutions, their faith, but also putting their power
Ah,
into
yeah, yeah, yeah.
world institutions and the media
Yeah.
that uh,
Hmm.
upholds those institutions. And it's like, so the, the number of ways that we put our power outside of ourselves in a way that doesn't serve us. It's not that surrendering power to the collective can't be a beautiful and like um experience that's is empowering, you know, and like feels very great. But the way we've been seeing it play out in recent history is um where there's no room for sovereignty and autonomy of the individual. within that, or for them to be actually co-steering the ship with
Yeah.
everybody else, you know?
Yeah.
So, but the number of ways that that has been in our matrix, our collective ego structure that we've put up, um, to keep us feeling scared and disempowered and disconnected, separate from each other and at odds with each other. It's like so many branches that are going to radically need to change and or implode, dissolve, die.
Yeah.
So many structures, so many systems that it's quite whiplashy. It's like,
Whiplash is, yeah.
yeah, it's very whiplash.
Yeah.
um,
Yeah. I was just thinking when you were talking about the good news, there was a couple things like good news and also tied to the collapse. I guess I'll do okay, I'll do the collapse thing first and then go to the good news because it's a nice little flow because it was just a little thing. I was talking to Serafina and I know I told you about this off air, but I feel like it's worth mentioning here because when you mentioned the Strait of Hormuz, I feel like that possibly is at least it's definitely part of it if it's not the whole thing. But Serafina had seen some sort of like umbilical cord for America being cut off in the summer. And when whatever that was, energy, whatever, oil, probably multiple things, whatever that was, the recovery time is what matters. So she kept saying like prepare for winter now kind of thing. And I was like, oh, that's really awesome news because one, the umbilical cord, whatever that is, being cut off feels like a really good, like we need this to happen. But it will be the collapsy part of stuff. So it may, people, it's bumpy bus ride, as we have been saying for a long time now. Um, but it felt like good news to me because like the way that my energy has anchored into this reality of like bringing this energy into collapse the matrix and all that stuff, we are very well prepared. Like we have a shitload of food stores. We have like, we're already planting stuff in the garden. Like there's stuff that we're doing that feels like energetically, I'm sharing that with this area at the very least, if not the whole of the collective, in some way, whatever. And so I feel very good with the energy I'm bringing into this cutoff of the collapse and or the umbilical cord. And that ties into some of that good news thing because like last night I was watching a gardening video. I watch gardening videos now because okay. And it was actually really cool because it was the YouTube channel Anne of All Trades, which I think she's pretty famous in the gardening world. She's like I think she was from New York and she just decided to become a farmer and like she knew nothing about it, but she knew she had to do something. So she's made like all these mistakes. I think she's been doing it for like 12 or 13 years or something like that. So she knows what she's doing a lot more. But she was talking about like how, I feel like she's got a third line profile somewhere because she was just making all kinds of mistakes and just like, so now she's really successful. Anyway, she was visiting the farm of I think the YouTube channel is called More Than Farmers, and they have a family of six, and they have a very small house. Like it's not like it was a really great video because they were young people. They're not like these old gardeners, whatever that they're sometimes hard to listen to because some of these like older British guys that um my partner likes to watch. Yeah, like I can't watch any of those, but these are like younger female um gardeners, farmers who
Ooh.
have big audiences and they are showing how like if you don't have a lot of space, if you don't have a lot of money, if you have a big family, like all these like you can do these things and they're completely self-sustained. Like we're all kind of annoyed about the energy situation, like we have to rely on electricity or whatever. So it's nice that this umbilical cord will be cut off so we can do more with that like updated energy in some way these next probably pretty rapidly is what I'm seeing at this point, but whatever. And so it just made me feel really good about the future because I was like, oh, these are the types of videos that will help other people come online into that self-sustaining, like grow your own food or like hook up with a community of people who can do that. And if you can't do all these things, like other people can and they can help you. And it's just like, it's not just go to the farmer's market kind of thing. That's not the only solution anymore. It's like we can help our communities live with the seasons, because this woman from More Than Farmers, she's also homeschools her kids, and she's like, I don't homeschool when when it's like busy gardening season, and she's like, I'm off schedule from all the other moms, but I don't care, I got to do my own thing. She's literally living with the seasons, and it is so fucking cool. And it
That's
was
really
really cool
cool.
to see it, because it's just like possible, so yeah, that's what I wanted to say about the good news and the collapse.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's really, really interesting. I think it would be cool to include some links to
Yeah,
those
I'll
too,
send you.
for sure. And I just wanted to say, so you mentioned Serafina, and Serafina is your friend, um,
Yeah.
who's very
She's got
wise
the
and
yeah,
esoteric.
yeah, she was just a part of the sober when we were streaming together on my last stream last week. I was like she was like, "Yeah, we've been friends for a long time." And I was like, "Yeah, but I don't remember when we became friends." It's so fucking weird, because I remember seeing her name in the soberish community back in the day. And then I don't know, I felt like I was supposed to I didn't know if I was supposed to be friends with her, but I felt like there was something. I was like, I need to talk to this person. Like, I don't know. I never really had those urges before of like, this person is. So she was always on my radar. And however it happened, which I cannot remember, which is very weird, we ended up talking on the phone. And I think it was maybe a session or something, and she was like, "Oh yeah, you're my sister, and we have this anyway." So it was like this whole, it was like a really cool friendship kind of developed, not out of the blue, but kind of out of the blue. And so she's from Trinidad and Tobago. She goes on Karen Rontowski's podcast sometimes, in the
Right.
paranormal Karen, to do like future prediction episodes, but she hasn't done that in a while. And she's like, I don't have messages for her audience anymore, but I do have messages for your, speaking to me, she was like, I have messages for your audience, which is why she came on my stream last week. And that's one of the things I feel like I was supposed to say, like her message about the umbilical cord kind of thing. So anyway, yeah, she's like a very magical being, and definitely gets a lot of, messages about the May, Judy, I love you. Come on over and hang out in our podcast. But
Yes.
yeah, and Seraphina has a cat too. I feel like she's a space cat in a lot of ways. But yeah.
She's very magical. What else was that? There was something else I was gonna say. Well, it went straight out of my head, so that's fine.
It'll come
Um,
back.
yeah, but oh, the collapse. And just listen. Part. Okay, I just wanted to throw out some stuff about the collapse and experiencing it. Total compassion for people for whom it's really terrifying, and
It sucks, yeah.
um yeah, and of course total compassion for people who are in the thick of the wars and the genocides, but in terms of like, I don't think that our listeners are necessarily um coming from that level of extreme, um and just in terms of like getting through it, uh I've gone back, I went back into following the news because I um had done this energy work on January 6th, um where I actually sent my destructive energy into the systems and structures, uh to like be like enough. It was basically me saying like, enough, I'm ready for like being on a, I'm ready for the shit to go down that needs to go down, to like, to, I'm ready to witness the collapse, you know.
Hmm.
And that was like the day before, so I did this whole thing, and I wasn't, I always work from a place of like unconditional love, and I always invite everything that I sent my energy too that involved humans. I always invited representatives of those humans into my innermost heart and connected with them over our desire to be in control of reality and to exert control over external reality. Um, just spraying. um, but yes, I had done an oracle reading in the fall that was all about tapping into your inner monster and its abilities to like what it needs to, what it can do to help you like ride the waves and like tap into the part of yourself that's comfortable amid chaos and destruction and all those things. And then I it was also, the fall reading said it was a period of real rest. So I realized by the time January rolled around that I hadn't actually tapped into my inner monster yet. And so I did it on January 6th. Cut to the next day is when Renee Good, what a name too,
I remember
metaphorically.
that. Yeah.
Anyway, she got murdered by ice and everything just so but I started out by saying that that's the reason that I needed to tune into the news after that period, was to see how what I had seen play out in my energy session, which was like super detailed about all these branches of government and all these other systems like the police force, the DEA. It was very US focused. This particular one, the DEA and like ICE and like the FBI, the CIA, all of it. I just watched and saw what was going to happen with all of them. And then I had to go look at the news stories to see like, oh, exactly, that stuff is playing out. But if you don't have a reason to be following the news, don't just follow the news because you think you have to be a witness to the horror. That's actually, this wouldn't be my recommendation, because you're witnessing a select story of reality, and if it's draining you, making you feel hopeless, despair, it's the purpose of what you're witnessing. So as much as you can take yourself out of the news cycle, you're going to cut off its ability to drain. You don't need to witness everything for things to happen. Like there's people who feel like if we're not all watching, everything's going to slide. There's plenty of people who are on it. If you have a particular thing that you want to see happen, put your energy towards that in your community, locally, whatever, and focus it on that. But you're not responsible for every single thing. So you eyeballing it, it's doing nothing except depleting you hugely, physically, mentally, and emotionally. Always, by the way, like follow your own intuition above mine. Anything I say is just, I'm just putting it out there. It may not resonate for you at all. And then you definitely shouldn't follow this advice if it doesn't resonate for you. But that would be one suggestion, especially because the news, as the Jeffrey Epstein files have revealed, people who are like the heads of huge media conglomerates have an agenda. And also, if you've been following the stuff related to, in the Jeffrey Epstein files, related to the CIA and Mossad, and of course, by extension, other intelligence agencies, and how that everything kind of leads back to that eventually, is this group that's been, and if you've also been following just what the CIA, I'm specifically talking about the CIA and Mossad right now, but I could also be bringing in, but that's the two that I have done the most research on and have the most information about. But if you've been following them for years, and including the CIA's own documents that it releases about itself, and many things that are just like well established, known, have been documented since like decades ago about them, you know that they have not just been doing things like destabilizing other countries' governments for, to enrich a select few and like, position the US empire as like position it to greater and greater power, and things like the coups and all these things, and assassinating journalists, assassinating heads of state, all sorts of stuff. But additionally to that, they've been working on, and of course, having fingers in all the financial, like banks, and of course, big tech as well. But also, going way back into the 20th century, from the inception, have been working on the cultural front and setting up things, setting up uh, establishments that are like super well known cultural hubs, or financing or working with different cultural figures that became hugely popular. And it's like literature, movies, TV, music, everything, right? I'm sure the art world too, but specifically the CIA funded the Iowa Writers Project, and I'll include the link where you can go read about that. It's been established for a long time. So that was, they're wanting to have input and shape the way that culture is being produced. Now, when it comes to the cultural landscape, just because they did that doesn't mean it worked out the way they planned. But that is the level that we're talking about of CIA and these intelligence agencies, like trying to manage everything globally. And so this really ties into the post-truth, which is that, so first of all, I want to say, again, I always say this when I talk about the CIA, the purpose of seeing all this stuff and realizing, oh, we've got this structure in place right now globally where it's like a very limited few who are really trying to control like literally everything on the planet, is not the purpose of opening your eyes to that, is not to be like, oh fuck, like, wow, we really fucked then, like these people control everything, we have no power. It's like the opposite. It's to be like, this is such a cartoonish level of I don't know what the word I'm looking for, but like such a cartoonish level of dastardliness and villainry, like playing the role, that it doesn't seem quite real. It seems like the most fanciful story ever. And if everything's connected back to this thing, then everything is connected. So it's to help people get to that level of openness through this, like, eyes suddenly wake up to like, whoa, what the CIA is also doing. What? Oh, they're doing what? They're doing like geo programming to. So this was something I was reading about recently, was theories about these was it radar technology that the US government had set up in Iran, and or maybe it was also the Israeli government, I can't remember, but one or both of those, in Iran and other places like the United Arab Emirates and stuff. And um, after the intense warfare in those areas, suddenly those places in Iran and the UAE who've been having a crazy drought for years and years and years, they had these huge downpours of rain, and it's just been raining and raining and raining and raining. Um, and so there's theories that those radar technologies were actually doing this kind of, I forget what this geo something, and it's called cloud stealing, and it's like manipulating the
Weather
weather.
manipulation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if anyway, that was me, part of me saying like you're seeing like the type of level of everything being controlled is so outlandish that you start to be like open to like, okay, that can't be real, that's just like, it's everything sounds just like a crazy story. At least that's how it happened for me when I was going into all the rabbit holes around Epstein in 2019. So it got to that point. And then, of course, I also had events in my life that started to be mirror that as well, where every stray thought I had that was scary would like happen in life. And I was like, okay, why are my thoughts like creating things in real life? So it's that paradoxical thing where it's like the thing that would seem to be telling you that you have the least amount of power is actually trying to tell you that you have the most an unfathomable infinite amount of power. And so when I am talking about all of this stuff, the way that I see those systems and bodies and things like the CIA, as I see them as just these parts of our collective ego structure that are doing their job to try to uphold this idea of reality that we currently exist in. And so, more and more people have been coming into their power and their knowledge of their power. And so it's like really, it's really heating things up to kind of get people to be like, no, we have to stand firm and fast in our knowledge of our own power. And also it's heating up to get to the boiling point to show people like, this is a crazy story, right? This can't be real, but it's real, but it can't be real, right? It can't be real. Okay, sorry, I felt like that was really long and rambly,
That
but
was awesome.
and so part of that, again, to finally get back to my post-truth, part of that is that none of the major news outlets are reporting on some things right now. And so whether or not you follow mainstream news outlets, or if you're online on things like Threads or Blue Sky or whatever, Discord, like channels where you're getting people from all over the world, like kind of like reporting things live and stuff, or wherever you are. And also with the way that with the way that people have been able to manipulate media to show certain things, it's almost impossible to get a sense of like what's truly happening, because if you're going through your old method of verifying, did this actually happen or did it not? And I'm going to talk about like Schrodinger heads of state is what I call it.
Yeah.
Because we had it for a few days when the Ayatollah died, it was like not being reported, but people knew, but these people were reporting it and these people weren't. And it wasn't. And now we've got it with Netanyahu, where nobody's reporting on it, but everything points to him being
dead.
dead. And so you can live in the reality where he's not dead, or you can live in the reality where he's dead. And that can be very, very destabilizing.
Trippy.
Yeah. Sorry, I finally brought it all the way back around to what I was trying to
Good.
get to. Is like what it actually is to exist in the post-truth world. And that's because we're shifting as a species into a, uh, an existence where multiple realities coexist, multiple seemingly opposing realities coexist. There's not just one reality, there's not just one truth. And our what I've been getting downloads about is that our bodies thrive in paradox, and they are built for paradox. So even as we're saying, oh, how can our nervous systems tolerate this? Da 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 da. The messages I'm getting is this is actually, I think, the distress we're feeling in our nervous systems has to do with trying to force ourselves to live in a reality where there is one truth.
Hmm. Interesting. That is very interesting.
How do
I'm gonna
you
chew on that.
feel it in your body? Like, because I feel the resistance. I'm not going to keep talking. I want to hear from you. But how do you, I feel resistance come up in me, even still, like having sat with this for quite some time and stuff. But like at the level that it's happening now, I feel like, whoa, like you can't actually verify, like
Yeah.
we're not going to come to a consensus on this. How do you feel?
Yeah, I don't I have a few moments of contraction, I feel like, when I'm just, but it's more out of a, a feeling of frustration that I'm like, well, how the fuck I can't even Google this anymore because the internet never gives me actual results that are reliable. Like GPS fucks with me, like, all the things that are, all the technology that we have is just like does not work for me very well. But sometimes it does, so it's kind of like that. Like, oh, is it going to mess with me this time, or do I get the real answer this time? How do I know? So I just have kind of like given up searching for things on the internet. I know, like, if I come across it with like multiple people that I have learned to trust are talking about it, then I put a little more weight into it. But even then, I'm still like, I go like this a lot. I'm like, what? Maybe not. I don't know. I just, and so I think I, for some reason, have become more rapidly comfortable than I was expecting in that paradox of like, I literally have no idea what's true. All I can do is focus on what I'm doing right now and like kind of let things play out like movies where I'm like, okay, here's a channel, I don't know. So I feel like I'm weirdly comfortable with it, but I do find myself sometimes still just being like, fuck, I wish there was one thing to anchor into. Like I'm okay floating. Okay, but like sometimes I just want solid ground. So it's like, yeah.
Totally. And I forgot the other component of the post-truth world is that that's coming through for me is that it's all about anchoring into your truth of the reality you want to experience internally and staying steady with that. And so a lot of it is choosing what you focus on, and does it resonate and does it empower? Is this truth causing me to feel scared, disempowered, panicky, not trusting myself? Do I want to subscribe? Okay, is this, and that doesn't even necessarily conform to um like typical like bad or good news. Like you, like for me, I'm reading about all these things happening, or I'm taking in all this stuff about all these things happening globally, and it's not scaring me because I know it's the crumble that's going to lead to stuff like the Strait of Hormuz stuff. I'm like, okay, and like um so I could hear something that I could, in the past, the previous me would have been freaking out over
Yeah.
certain things, and they don't actually make me contract. But then I'll come across something that's a new, there's so many, and so much of it is like your field, just so many potential fear triggers when you go online that you're exposing to yourself to in your field. And it's like, do you have the bandwidth to be doing that? Like, even if you're super solid in your sense of like where we're headed and it's like a lot because it'll go for very personal things too, right? Like
Mm,
I'll get things coming up that are like my personal things that used to be my personal biggest triggers, that can start a whole new story in my head. And like that's like to have to like go through the thing of being like, nope, nope, no. It's like that takes energy, right?
it
So
does.
that's
Yeah.
also why I advocate for taking big breaks. Oh, and the other reason, but one of my main reasons that I've spent so long um, taking huge breaks from the news cycle is because it allows things to proceed more fluidly when I'm not eyeballing every
Staring at
step
it.
of the
Yeah.
way and being like, well, this can't, and putting my projection of like, well, this can't happen, this can't happen because they're saying this now and that possibly. It's like the less I know, the more reality is able to just configure itself in a completely new way. And then I'll just hear from like my mom or my partner or you or somebody like this thing happened and I'm like, whoa, I didn't know that was going to be possible in 2025 or 2026, you know. um and it's like it's already happened, it's already. So that's but I hear you about the anchor thing of not being able, like I feel myself craving the thing and also craving the consensus that
Oh,
it's like everyone will know that
yeah.
BB is clearly like
No,
not Yahoo's dead,
exactly.
you know. It's like you crave that moment of like being like, yes, I was right, you see.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly. I want those
like
moments
you
too.
were right, yeah, that kind of thing. Or yeah, of course, just the stability. And this doesn't mean that we're not going to have any forms of consensus reality, because the thing about human beings is they actually don't fundamentally, we don't fundamentally, I said they, human beings, I deeply consider myself human, but that was funny. um we don't fundamentally have aims that are that opposed. Like we think we do, but we
Mm,
really don't. It's like people, um look, we have our destructive sides that want to be fed, but that's just that we're at an extreme end of that spectrum, and we don't need to always be living at that extreme end of the spectrum, and we're kind of tired of it as a species, which
hmm
is why this is happening. So
hmm
we're ready to live at a completely different part of the spectrum that's a lot chiller. So we're ready to let go of all those survival based fears and beliefs about scarcity in the planet and being able to like everybody being able to have what they need to and like want to thrive. We're ready to let go of those. And we're also really feeling a need to connect with each other. And so when you just get down to what like an individual person wants from life, it's all pretty similar. So there's no
It really
way.
is.
It's like people want to create, people want to be ingenious, people want to connect, people want to experience family and community. People want to laugh. They want to experience pleasure. They want to um,
Feel safe.
feel safe, stable.
Yeah.
And the part that we're just kind of letting go of is our need to control. Because all of this, the other part of this aspect is what we're seeing is, and that's where I connected again when I said when I went to my innermost heart and like connected, it's over this desire to like control and micromanage every aspect of our external reality so that we feel safe and stable, or that we feel powerful. And that's what is being exposed on the global stage right now, is that desire to control,
hmm
taken to its like absolute extreme, right? But if you see it as an extension of your own, of my, if I see it as an extension of my own individual desire to be in control of things,
hmm
um I just it's so relatable to me.
Yeah,
It's so
absolutely.
not other.
hmm Yeah. And that's why, like, I'll talk more about my personal experience, later at some point, but like to kind of give a broader overview of that, it's like I was witnessing that type of behavior in someone related to my situation who's now no longer here. And it was interesting to see her grasp at any little like things and money and the control of like, she did everything right. You know, it was like, but I did this and I did this and my life is still falling apart. What the fuck? And you know, and she kept so and the thing is, I had such compassion for her because I could feel that in myself and how I had been like, you know, pushed into this place of, you know, learning the hard way, or like a very intensely intense few years of like learning that money isn't security, that things are not security, that control is not security. And it was really hard for me to let go. And
Oh yeah.
I still have my moments where I'm like, I just want to fuck. But then I remember I'm like, nope, I cannot control any of this. So I'm getting much better at just being like, oh, I surrender. Okay, whatever. I just do what I can do with the things that are in front of me. But when you're talking about the compassion for other people, you know, it's just like seeing this person go through it in my very personal world. It was very much like it felt like a huge reflection of the stuff that's happening externally, and like how the harder you hold on to what you think you've always been told has been safe or whatever, the harder you're going to feel this collapse. Because if you let go and flow with the river, it's going to be scary, but that's kind of the nature of our reality right now, or whatever reality. And so I do, yeah, I guess I don't know why I had to tell that story, but like I just to relate to this stuff where it's like I can see the people who are in my personal life crumbling and collapsing. They're going to be okay. That's the thing. Like even when they're like crumbling and collapsing, they are still going to be okay. Like all the stuff that's coming through is for everyone, not just for people who can surrender or whatever. Like it's not like we're doing it right or wrong, but like so they're going to be okay. But it's that I don't know where I'm even going with this, talking myself in circles, but it's okay, basically. If you're still feeling like the control stuff, so am I. So am I. And that's kind of the energy that's like, I feel like because we've talked about this before, the astrology, where it's the nodal axis, the lunar nodes are in Pisces and Virgo and have been since January of 2025. And I feel like that was giving us the taste of the 2027 energy where like no more certainty, you know, it's just going to be trippy reality. Like we're getting that now in a very, it's not just like a calm taste test because I know this has been very tumultuous, but this is like getting us used to, it's like the merging of the titrating off the timeline and onto a new one. It's like this energy is kind of bridging that a little bit. So there are still ways you can control or whatever, but like everyone trying to hold on to that control. You even use the word boiling point, and that word has come up a lot for this lunation cycle. The full moon we just had in Libra, it felt like a boiling point, and like things have to, you know. So as even I have felt the boiling point, and I'm not grasping for control. So I understand that the people who are grasping for control are probably feeling this even harder. And it's okay. You can let go. We're here. We're living proof that you're still safe when you let go.
Yeah. And I was thinking like so far the only other thing I've said about like ways to find peace is just tuning out of the news. But otherwise, other ways are um making sure you have the things to make your body run the way it's supposed to run. And I think right now, I would let go of any stories of in the past of how your body responds to certain stuff. Like if you're scared of some type of medication or whatever, like for me, it was SSRIs because I'd had a very bad experience on actually the same one that I ended up taking again, although I thought it was a different one because it has two different names. So, but I had a horrible experience on it. And so I just was like, no, never again, not for me. And then it's just like, allow that to dissolve, allow a new medication or something that come along that actually will like just get your body seen to like
Mm-hmm.
allow for new treatments. It doesn't have to be traditional Western medication. It could be herbal alternatives for me, yeah, natural alternatives, alternative medicines, all sorts of stuff. For me, I was very surprised when it ended up being like so many Western medicine things
Mm-hmm.
that were actually effective for me. I thought it was going to be the all natural route. Um, but I just like let go of old stories, let go of the story that there's nothing that can help your nervous system or your body or your hormones feel regulated. There's something now. There's something now that will,
Mhm.
um, and it can be accessible. So that's another get your body feeling and your body mind feeling like strong and powerful. Um, Look for people or things to be people or like groups or like what media you consume that is like on your wavelength of what reality you want to experience, and ideally also open to like navigating this lack of fixed truth so that you have people you can listen to or watch or communicate with who are also going through it, but like you can talk to them on that level. And they won't just shut shut down and stuff. um I think for me there's also been a lot of experimentation in my own life with like no truth and or
Mhm.
like just accepting, like we just had a thing the other day where one of our towel we have these at any given time we have one towel for Mike and one bath towel for me that are hanging up in the bathroom. And suddenly his had all this pink stuff on it and we have no idea where it came from. It was like sticky. There's nothing in our house that, it was just like, let go of like having like we could have spent our entire weekend fixating on like trying to find where the source of that was. But we were just like,
Okay.
like there's no source. It doesn't make sense. We just, it's like, just let it go, move
Yeah.
on, stuff like that, play around with it. And try to experiment with the ways that, like I said, I'm like doing all of this. This is all advice for me as well, but like experimenting with the ways that my body does thrive in. Oh, and also spend time connecting with your and nurturing the version of reality that you want to.
Mhm.
But yeah, connecting with your body and seeing how it does respond positively to paradox and like
Mhm.
multidimensional
Yeah,
realities.
focusing on where that you already have success, where it's like you don't have to be perfect all at once. It's like here is a small example or whatever of me being able to handle paradox in my life. And then when you see that, you kind of like anchor in that channel and it gets wider and wider as you see more success. And that's how you kind of become more fluid or able to handle, be the calm in the center of the storm because the chaos is not going to stop. It's just going to be crazy. And the more you find your calm center, that's how it's just easier to move through it. And you mentioned something about, oh yeah, it was the towel. And you're just like, whatever. And I feel like that's the kind of thing that's happening now. That's the part of the reason everything is so concentrated and chaotic and like everything feels like it's happening all at once is to get us to the point where we just kind of have to let go. We're like, well, fuck, okay. And that helps you. It's that boiling point kind of thing where it just like finally snaps and you're like, oh, well, I don't. It's like the memes of like, the aliens come down and the humans like, it was like, okay, hey, or whatever. And the aliens like, aren't you freaked out? And the humans like, I kind of got a lot going on. It's like, what else, And that's the kind of thing I think we're all kind of being pushed to is to just be like, and it ties in with the cartoonishness that you were talking about earlier, where it's just like, it's so cartoonish. It's so like everything is just, so you just have to sit back and be like, okay. And then you just start to, and that's the moment of surrender where you're like, I'm just going to see what happens. And then maybe start to put your attention towards things you want to see. And like, again, that nodal axis where you were talking about like focusing on the reality you want and spending time, nurturing the reality that you want. That's the nodal axis message, like the Pisces Virgo one, where it's like Pisces is the imagination, Virgo is the reality, and it's like bringing the dream into reality. So the more that you spend time in your imagination, like daydreaming about the cool shit you want to see for the world, or or even just if you don't have any ideas for what you want to see, you can spend time feeling what you want to feel. Like, wow, I feel so satisfied or so fulfilled or I feel purpose like that joyful, like all those feelings are also very good energies to like bring like put out and also kind of bring in.
Yeah. No,
So,
sorry, I wasn't trying to
no,
cut you
that's
off. I
it.
was just bringing.
That's it.
Um, yeah, that's a great one. I was also thinking of like for me, like things that perpetuate an us versus them are like that's not for
Major,
me.
yeah.
And I know that me telling you all about the ways the CIA is doing something can sound like that, but for me, it's like the CIA is me and I'm the CIA. So it's
Yeah.
like, and it's all just a story that's helping us thing. So it doesn't feel that way to me, but, or sometimes I fall into old patterns and it does, um, but, um, yeah, like, being aware of if a story being fed to you is trying to feed that narrative of us
Yeah.
versus them as well is really good. But also, what else was I thinking of? Um, like whenever am online and I see nice, I always like it's like
Me too.
feed me more of that. You know, I
Me
see
too.
these great updates about things. I just make sure that I like it. It's like send me more of that, send me more of that, and it does. The algorithm is like it
You
just
program your algorithm.
sends me more and more and
Yeah.
more. Exactly. I just had another one that I wanted to talk about that was so interesting, but what was it? Oh yeah, don't forget to have fun. When you were talking about the aliens, it's like it's such a wondrous thing
I know.
to any like we are aliens and like we literally are uh, aliens.
Yeah.
But also like connecting with any versions of consciousness out there and other extraterrestrials, all that stuff that's so
Yeah.
wondrous and magical.
So
Like
fun.
don't forget like all the stories raining down like trying to get you to be miserable and afraid. Like don't forget to like don't be blasé about the aliens. You
Yeah.
know, this is like a super magical thing that we're going to get to experience, and it's going to be so weird, and it's going to be post truth, so it's going to be you're gonna but like live like the little kid in you is like, oh my god, aliens, are you kidding? The little
Yeah.
Elliot of you.
Mm-hmm.
um and also what I also think is really important to keep in mind with all of these atrocities is that you could spend your whole life grieving any one thing in it, like a single person, like a single child's death that
Mm-hmm.
happened because of a global conflict. You could spend your whole life grieving that. And so um you know your collective ego feels comfortable in that energy now because we've been in that story and that energy for so long. It kind of is resisting wanting you to know that these emotions can coexist with each other. So if you are really feeling the need to grieve, give yourself allotted time every week or whatever, a portion of time that's contained for grief, and then you have to allow yourself to experience the other, because otherwise we could always be just everything could be grief, and grief is an important emotion, but right now the narrative around grief is that it kind of takes precedence over every
Yeah.
other state of being and emotion, and it's actually not that's not balanced. That's not You can live that way, but that's not what I would call a fun way to live. So you could
No.
live with that perspective. um and it's like we've kind of we're putting grief on this huge pedestal, and
That's
it's like we
exactly what it feels
have
like.
to tiptoe around. And yes, of course there's the question of people not wanting to face grief, but I actually think that's kind of a weird story that we have about humanity, because like everything is about grief. All
Mm-hmm.
cultures is stories of tragedy and grief and like facing grief over and over again. So
Yeah.
um so there's ways that we are constantly not only facing but really like getting in there and
Mm-hmm.
swimming around in grief, and like you know savoring even that energy. um and so my again, do what's good for you, but for me that's not that's not how I want to exist. That's not how I see my best reality is a reality where grief has just taken over everything and all our time is devoted to grief, you know?
Mhm.
And again, I'm not trying to shit on grief. It's just like we need to create space. So get yourself a little ritual that you do. I wouldn't say every day. That feels too much for me personally, but like every week or every month or whatever, where you actually set a contained amount of time and like really, do it in a way that feels safe to you with other people or your therapist or whatever ritual, but contain it, you know?
That's that's a really interesting point that you brought up because I've been feeling since I've started this, I call it the soft launch of my new life when I first started in March, and it feels like we're getting to the point where we're going to take off. But in this soft launch, I've also been feeling, and both of us, like in this, my partner and both of us have been holding a lot of grief along with all this joy that we're experiencing with our new life. And I've noticed how not discombobulating, that's not really the right word, but it is very, those two clash in ways, but they can also coexist. And I'm learning how to coexist with both things and not let the grief take away from my joy or my joy take away from my grief, because it's not like I'm trying to bypass the things that I'm grieving or feeling terrible over. And it's one of those things where it's like, I part of this whole titrating off the misery timeline or whatever, whatever. It's like they coexist for a while together together. And so it's I, it's been an interesting journey the past like month or so to have both of those and sometimes have them both at once. And so maybe this ties into your question about like how does your body, how do you feel it in your body when you're tolerating paradox and stuff. And it's very interesting because I've felt the capacity to tolerate both in ways that I didn't think I could. Because sometimes I can feel the grief like, oh, I want to knock you off course. Like, I want you to buy into the old stories that you don't get the nice thing. You should only focus and wallow in the grief because, like, other people are not okay. So why are you okay? Like, why do you feel okay being okay when others are not okay? And we've talked about this before too, where it's like, part of this transition is being okay while other people are not okay. And so feeling that very intensely right now for myself, I'm like, oh, wow, I'm really having to walk the talk right now.
Yeah.
And so I think I might be a little bit more like you feel very much like you can um not like let it go, but you're very good at like focusing on the positive and the joy and like, centering that as a major part of it. And then I feel like I'm sort of more, and not that this is better or worse or anything. I just feel like I'm sort of maybe more with the audience who does sort of stay in some of that grief for a while. Maybe it's my role as grief eater, like I don't know. But again, I'm here to tell you that you don't have to let it run your life. Like you can have both of those things and not bypass one or the other, but you can let grief, like you said, you can live that way if you want to, but that's like those are the loops we're getting ourselves out of. And the more you can focus on that joy, as discombobulating as it can be, if you're dealing with both at once, it is possible and it does get easier. And so I don't know, it's kind of like working out a muscle, but like at the same time, that's why you go to the gym. You put on the heavy weights and you kind of break
Yeah.
down a little bit. So, and I've had to break down
Yeah.
sometimes, and that's been okay too. But it's getting fewer and farther in between, and I can hold the compassion for the people who are not doing okay and feel more of my joy. I can feel myself moving more into the joy, and it feels good, I gotta say. But then it's weird because sometimes the guilt pops up. It's just like, oh, I shouldn't feel good. It's like just dealing with the
Well, the guilt thing specifically, allowing yourself to let go of the guilt
yeah,
only allows the reality where more people are letting go of the guilt and realizing that the guilt is just a
yeah,
game that we play of to keep ourselves in an emotion and stuff. It
yeah,
only will allow more people into to be in your reality who are also letting go of the guilt. So
exactly.
um and then the more people that are letting go of the guilt, then I mean
Yeah,
the guilt is like also like so um, guilt about feeling one way where other people feel another way is, I feel like it's something we're all working through of like letting
Yeah.
go as well. But yeah, like you can remind yourself that you doing it is having a really beneficial effect because it's
It is.
creating
Yeah.
that space in the web, like that laxity in the web
Yeah.
for others in the web to like let go as well. That's always a good one especially for guilt, is to like
Oh,
tell yourself like, but I'm doing something really good here
exactly.
by letting go of that guilt. It's actually, and then it helps like assuage the guilt at the
Yeah.
same
I've
time
had
as
to
you're
do
leaving.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've had to be like, because I know we've talked about that before, and I hear our conversations in my head. It's like doing this actually helps. It does assuage the guilt. So,
Yeah. Um, yeah. Well, the thing is, I know if I sound callous, I
no,
spent,
I don't think you do.
thank you. But I just to say, if I sound callous to everything, I spent so much time in the despair and the depression, like um, that, and then another round of it in 2025 um,
Mhm.
for my for personal stuff. That it's just like I just don't got
You're
like
done.
it
Yeah.
it
Okay.
took so many years of my life that I really truly, it's like no,
Hmm.
I'm done, and I'm here to say that that's okay.
Yeah, it
That's
is.
okay. Like I don't really have it in me at this point to do a lot of grieving, for especially because I think part of the reason we're kind of like so involved with grief right now is because we're transitioning to an understanding of reality where we don't understand death in the same way as the end, and we
That's
don't
a good
even
point.
understand suffering and horror
Yeah.
in the same way. And so we're not going to feel, we'll still feel grief, but it's not going to be
It's not gonna be the same.
the same as it
Hmm.
was. And so it's like we're grieving the end of that era of
Hmm.
consciousness and of experience, which is it can be challenging, very challenging to let go of,
Absolutely.
because we have wonderful memories and culture and stuff that has like of
Hmm.
of 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 the highs and the lows and the tragedies and the
Yeah.
stuff. So, but and we always kind of like to posit that a future that's different from that would be empty or hollow. We like to have all these tricks, mental tricks, and like threshold guardians that pop up of like,
Hmm.
no, it couldn't. Instead of being curious and open to the ways that it could be so much richer than we imagined, so much more interesting and textured, and
Hmm.
we can experience emotions that we haven't yet, or like
Yeah.
shades of emotions that we haven't even begun to yet.
Hmm.
That's really exciting.
Hell yeah. More good news.
Yeah. Okay, good. Well,
That
I
feels
feel
good.
like we should sign off before it signs
Yeah.
off for us with cutting us off.
I agree.
Um, so we will talk to you soon, fellow
Yeah.
space cats. We love you. Um,
Yeah.
take it easy out there. do, 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 do.